Hey everybody, so today I'm here to do another video in my exclusively pumping series here on my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about how often you should be pumping. Now before I get started with this video, I want to make sure that this is specifically for exclusively pumping moms. If you are nursing, how often you should be pumping will be entirely different. For those of you moms who do nurse, I just wanted it to be clear that too much of an oversupply, too much pumping, just a whole bunch of different factors for you could hinder a perfectly healthy, normal nursing relationship. So this video is not intended for you. Now, exclusively pumping means that you use a breast pump to express your breast milk to feed your child. There's no direct latch involved. But I do want to say that pumping is breastfeeding, and I'm going to start saying that in every video, and hopefully we get the point across that it is breastfeeding too. I have my little helper here, Remy, today because she was losing her mind. So she's in the activity center and she's helping Mama. Hi, I'm feeding her puffs the whole time. Can you believe that my baby is old enough to be eating puffs? She's being very well behaved right now, but let's see how long you last. So when I first started making the notes for this video, it was actually titled Pumping Schedules. But then I realized something that I tell people a lot of times. It's not really about a set schedule. It's not about when you pump. It's about how often you pump. So I think I'm just going to make this video and refer back to it whenever somebody may ask me, how should my pumping schedule look? Your schedule is all up to you, girlfriend. As an exclusive pumper, it is important to be emptying your breast frequently and thoroughly. This is going to create an adequate supply for you. Now, if you are very strict on how often you're pumping, if you're listening to this video, and I will have a Google Doc down below listed with all this stuff, if you're doing everything right and you're still struggling from low supply, definitely reach out to a lactation consultant or just support in general and see what you can do about troubleshooting, because there may be underlying issues. With that being said, there is always Facebook support groups linked in the drop box down below for you guys. I'm an admin of Breast Bottle and Beyond. That one is listed down below, but I am a member of both that I list. So first, I thought it would be beneficial to explain to you guys how breast milk production works, because when I was trying to find the evidence to back up what I'm about to tell you guys, I found that it's kind of important to understand how we make milk in the first place, because I feel like a lot of people jump into how often should I be doing something, how much should I be making. Understanding how we make milk just helps you understand why there are certain guidelines and suggestions in place. Puff time. I'm also gonna have to be intermittently stopping because my battery's yelling at me, but you guys said you wanted an AP video and I'm about to deliver. Of course, breast milk production is a lot more complicated than what I'm about to make it sound like, but I wanted to specifically narrow in on the things that have to relate to this video and kind of make it easier for everybody to understand. Now, if you are curious to see where I got my information from, or you want to read the full process, I will have the links in the Google Doc and also in the drop box for you guys, for you to check out the article, but it's very thorough and it'll explain everything very detailed. So basically, there's two different explanations for milk production. There's autocrine and there's endocrine controlled. Now, from pregnancy until about 2 to 3 days after you give birth, it is endocrine controlled, which means that it's hormone based. Now, after that 2 to 3 days after birth, and from then on out, it becomes autocrine, which is basically supply and demand. Now, a lot of this I'm going to be looking down at my laptop because I want to make sure that I get this perfectly, I'm crystal clear on what I mean, and I'm not missing a thing. So because of a protein called FIL, which stands for feedback inhibitor of lactation, found in breast milk, production will slow when milk accumulates in the breast and speeds up when the breast is emptier, when less of the protein is present. Now for this next part, I'm going to scoot over to here so you guys can see this picture. I'm going to insert the entire time I'm talking. But for breast milk to be produced, there must be the milk-making hormone prolactin present. Inside our breast, we have these milk-making cells called lactocytes. I hope I'm pronouncing everything right. Probably not. That have prolactin receptor sites on their walls. These receptor sites allow for the prolactin from our bloodstream to enter the lactocyte and stimulate milk production. When your ducts and glandular tissue fills with milk, it causes stretching and expanding, which then changes the shape of the receptor sites. This makes it difficult for the prolactin to enter, which ultimately slows down milk production. There's also a theory called the prolactin receptor theory. It implies that frequently emptying your breasts in the beginning weeks of breastfeeding will increase the number of receptor sites you have. This could allow for more prolactin to enter, which could increase your milk production. Basically, both of these facts support the idea that emptying your breast frequently and thoroughly is going to give you an adequate supply. Okay, so there's a few things that I want you guys to keep in mind. Obviously, first, you also want to make sure that you have the other basics of EP together. That means making sure you're using your pump properly, make sure you have the correct flange size, make sure your hands-on pumping, all that good stuff. I will have a plethora of old EP videos down below so you guys know what I'm talking about. Also, I want to say, if you work midnight hours, your schedule is going to look different than other people's. And when I say during the day, that is going to be your awake hours. And when I say during the night, that's going to be your hours of deep sleep. If you are not able to finish a complete pump session, whether it be from work, a busy schedule, whatever it is, try doing more frequent, smaller sessions. Okay, so we're back after a brief intermission. I let my camera charge, I put Remy down for a nap. We are back, people. Now, to pick up where I left off, if you're struggling that day to get pumps in or to finish them, go ahead and try to do a power pump at the end of the night. We all have our off days. Try not to stress about it, and one day shouldn't really do much. Lastly, I wanted to mention to you guys that these are simply suggestions and guidelines. You need to put your emotional and mental health first. Breast milk is an amazing thing, but your baby needs a healthy and happy mama. There's absolutely no shame in using formula, and I want you guys to remember that. The next couple parts I'm going to talk about is 2 different time frames in breastfeeding: before 12 weeks postpartum and after 12 weeks postpartum. If you're unsure as to what postpartum means, it just means since you've delivered your baby. I also wanted to mention right here the time you could skip to in case you are 12 weeks postpartum or further, and that way you can just skip ahead and get past this first part. So going into the before 12 weeks postpartum and how often you should be pumping then, like I mentioned, a couple days after birth, your breast milk switches to an autocrine control, and that means that it's going to be supply and demand. Now, before 12 weeks postpartum, your supply isn't regulated, which makes it even more important to make sure you're frequently and thoroughly emptying your breasts. What a regulated or established supply means is basically that your body has found out what you need at a certain amount of time, and it provides just that. So if you start slacking with your pump sessions, your body could mistake that as a need for a low supply and deliver just that. So how often you want to pump before 12 weeks postpartum is every 2 to 3 hours during the day and every 3 to 4 hours at night. Middle of the night pumps are crucial, especially during this time. Prolactin levels are the highest during hours of deep sleep, which for most people are between the hours of 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Not only is it great to stimulate milk flow during that time, but I know a lot of moms actually see their biggest output during this pump. So around 12 weeks postpartum is when your supply starts to regulate. It may take longer for you oversupplying moms to see this. Basically what that means is your body's going to recognize what you've been demanding and deliver that. So now we have a little bit more leeway when it comes to how often you can pump. It's at this time that you could slowly start to ease yourself into whatever routine or schedule you would like to see. Now, if you're wanting to drop pumps and push a ton of time in between them, I will have another video linked down below about how to drop pumps. I go into quite thoroughly how to do that. I have 2 different methods in that video, one for people who are prone to clogs and another for people who are not. For most moms, I do recommend to just start going every 3 hours during the day and then slowly start pushing out that middle of the night pump. Now, some people hang on to that middle of the night pump their entire pump journey. That's completely fine. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, your pump schedule is exactly what you want to make it. So if you want to keep that pump the entire time, you go with your bad self. It's just going to allow you to get more rest at night. I did want to say that I would allot yourself a week's time in between every extra hour you're going between pumps. So if you were pumping every 2 hours during the day before 12 weeks postpartum, and then you move to 3 hours, stay at that for about a week. It'll allow you to see if your supply is going to do something crazy or whatever. And that's basically all there is to it. I do get a lot of questions as to what my pump schedules were, and I will say that when I was first pumping, I was pumping every 2 hours around the clock. I did that until about 12 weeks postpartum, and then I started going every 3 hours at night. And then at 14 weeks postpartum, I started going every 3 hours during the day and every 4 hours at night. And then around 6 months postpartum, I started dropping my middle of the night pump, and I started doing that 6 hour stretch like I mentioned. And now I've been doing every 6 to 7, but 7 kind of puts me in a lot of pain, so just kind of depends if I end up sleeping extra or not. But I still do pump every 3 hours during the day. There's no wrong schedule to keep whatever supply you're comfortable with. I know that there's moms who simply pump a few times during the day. They don't mind that they have a lower supply. They don't mind supplementing, and good for them. You need to do whatever you're confident in, whatever works for your family. Find your schedule. You know, it's all about finding what works for you, and I hope this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I will answer them for you guys. If you have any other exclusively pumping video requests, also leave those down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.